Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. As we continue with part 16, Jetsun Milarepa, the Great Tibetan Mystic, from the Adepts in the Eastern Esoteric Tradition by Manly Palmer Hall, Part 2, the Arhats of Buddhism. Jetsun Milarepa, the Great Tibetan Mystic. We are greatly indebted to Dr. W.Y. Evans-Wentz for making available to scholars an English translation of Jetsun-Kahbum prepared by the late Lama Kazi Dawa-Samdup. The Jetsun-Kahbum is a biographical account of the life and spiritual accomplishments of the great Kargyutpa Guru Milarepa. Jetsun Milarepa was the most celebrated of the Tibetan apostles of the Maha-Mudra school, which reached Tibet from India through Nepal and China nearly a century before the advent of Padma Sambhava. Milarepa was the fourth of the human gurus from the divine guru, the Celestial Buddha Vajradhara, the holder of the Spiritual Thunderbolt. From Lhasa and its mysteries, the Kargyutpa Guru and poet, Milarepa. It is not necessary for our purposes to examine in detail the incidents in Milarepa's life. Those desiring this information are referred to the writings of Dr. Evans-Wentz and Dr. Lawaddle. The great yogi was born AD 1052 under a propitious star near the frontier between Tibet and Nepal. The early life of the sage was burdened with numerous misfortunes. His father died when he was about 7 years old, and the paternal uncle misappropriated the extensive estates intended for Milarepa and his mother and sister. Inspired by the hatred of his mother for her relations, Milarepa devoted himself for a time to black magic and sorcery directed against the uncle and other cruel and dishonest relatives. Later, however, he departed from all evil ways, repented of his use of the black arts, and attached himself to a holy teacher, the Guru Marpa, known as the Translator. Marpa made many journeys to India, where he gathered rare manuscripts on tantric yoga which he translated into Tibetan. Under the wise and gentle instruction of Marpa, and after a certain amount of mental rebellion, Milarepa dedicated himself utterly to the holy Dharma, the way of liberation, and attained the nirvana. He entered his final samadhi and passed from this world in the 84th year of his life, attaining to the same age as the Lord Buddha. The direct cause of his death is said to have been the eating of poisoned curds. Milarepa left a large number of hymns and sacred poems, many editions of which exist in Tibetan. Milarepa fulfills all the requirements of Eastern adeptship. His birth was accompanied by extraordinary circumstances. He practiced the disciplines of tantric yoga, gaining a variety of occult powers. He was initiated by his guru Marpa with esoteric rites and earned his place in the Kargyutpa apostolic line. He gained the inward contemplation of eternal truth, preached, performed miracles, and gathered disciples about him. He attained the liberation, and his death was attended by proofs of his divine estate. When his body was cremated, heavenly beings appeared in the smoke and flame of the funeral pyre, and his relics possessed miraculous qualities. The story told of Milarepa by Sarat Chandra Das, and probably derived from the Lubum, a collection of tracts attributed to the Guru, is indicative of the supernatural powers ascribed to Milarepa. One day, while the sage was traveling to Lhasa, accompanied by a conceited disciple, Milarepa resolved to administer an appropriate reprimand. He ordered his pupil, named Rachungpa, to bring him a pair of old yak horns which lay on the ground near the road. Rachungpa did not comply, for he could see no advantage to be gained by collecting the horns, and decided that his master was in his dotage and full of childish fancies. Milarepa picked up the horns himself, announcing that they would be of use some time or other. Shortly after, a violent hailstorm overtook the travelers, and there was no place where they could find shelter. Rachungpa covered his head with his gown and sat shivering on the ground, severely beaten by the hailstones, until the storm had passed. He then searched for his Lama, but could not see him anywhere. Soon he heard a voice, and looking down beheld Milarepa seated comfortably inside one of the yak horns. "If the son is equal to the father, then," said the saint, "let him seat himself inside the other horn." Rachungpa was properly humiliated, for the horn was too small to serve him even as a hat. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.